So the Supreme Court has come to a devastating conclusion and made a horrendous decision vis-a-vis LGBTQ rights. Now, in the past, the court, not only said, hey, gay marriage is constitutional under equal protection under the law, not only did they do that, but the idea was, like, even a baker who is Christian does not have the legal right to reject a gay couple getting married just because they're gay. Why? Because anti-discrimination protections protect gay people from being arbitrarily discriminated against. That's the way it was, right? And this is what case law in the US dictated. However, they've now changed that, or at the very least amended it to some extent. So here's what they claim. I'll tell you what they claim, and then I'll tell you what I think the reality is, okay? And then we'll get into the details of the case, which are mind-boggling. So they claim, hey, it's okay for if you do something that's like artistic in nature, right? Then if a gay couple comes to you and that conflicts with your personal religious beliefs, you actually don't have to serve them. Because if something is like artistic in nature, it's sort of an extension of yourself and your own beliefs, and you can't be compelled to do something that you find immoral or unethical. So as long as the service you provide or the product you sell is like a reflection of something artistic or creative, then you do have the right to say, hey, I'm not going to serve you because you're gay. Now, they're trying to make like a distinction there and say like, if the thing you do is not artistic, you still have to serve them. But look, the elephant in the room here is what? You could almost say like anything is artistic. No matter what you do, there is some degree of art to it because you're putting your imprint on it and your own fingerprints and your own being into whatever you're making. Even if you're like, think of it, if you're an architect, okay, well, you're going to design a house. Gay people need places to live, right? But they're going to say, well, this is some degree of artistic. So, even though it's engineering, it's also kind of art. So I'm not going to do it for you because I don't want to do it for you, right? Or even if you're a construction worker, you say, yeah, or a construction company. Yeah, this conflicts with my personal beliefs. And you might say, you don't think this is artistic. I disagree. I think this is to some extent artistic. What we're doing is a mix of engineering and art. So it's like they're trying to create a loophole, but really, I think the real purpose here is they're just trying to reverse previous case law and make it so that gay people are not protected by anti-discrimination laws. That's the gist of it to me. But okay, so I tell you all that. This was the case, right? It had to do with a web designer, and the web designer said, I can't be compelled to make a website because this cuts against my religious beliefs for gay people. But here's the thing, guys. This is astonishing. This is astonishing. Turns out, with just a little bit of digging from the media, all the facts of the case were utterly made up. And the Supreme Court still took the case and they sided with the anti-gay person. Okay, look at this. This is in CNN Politics. Colorado web designer told Supreme Court a man sought her services for his same-sex wedding. He says he didn't. And he's straight. Are you kidding me, man? This is beyond pathetic. This is egregious. So here's what they say. The Colorado web designer who wanted to refuse LGBTQ customers and won her case at the Supreme Court had claimed in court filings that a man inquired about her services for his same-sex wedding. But the man says he never reached out to Lori Smith, the web designer, who argued at the Supreme Court that she shouldn't be forced to create same-sex wedding websites because of her religious objections. In fact, the man says he's straight and married to a woman. The man was identified as Stewart in court filings and as someone who requested graphic designs for invitations and other materials for a same-sex wedding with his fiancée, Mike. CNN contacted Stewart through information in court filings. He asked for his last name. Which is not in the filing, to not be used. In an interview with CNN Friday, Stewart said that he did not submit a request to the company, 303 Creative, and is, quote, happily married to a woman of 15 years. I don't know Mike, Stewart said. I've never asked anybody to design a website for me, so it's all very strange. I certainly didn't contact her, and whatever the information in that request is fake. Stewart, who previously worked for CNN, said that he is a web designer himself and that it would make zero sense to hire a web designer when I could do that for myself. Stewart said he was unaware of his information being part of the court record until he was contacted by the media outlet The New Republic on Wednesday. Quote, "It is concerning that nobody connected with this case over the last 6 years has ever thought to call me, email me, text me to try and corroborate the communication in any way," he said, adding, "I don't necessarily think that would be a tipping point in this case at all, but at the very least, a case of this magnitude should be corroborated, should be fact-checked along the way." Guys, for any of you who understand the way the law works, this should have been thrown out day one by the first court that looked at it. Why? Because they don't have standing. So look, you could say in theory, what does it matter? Because they're just, deciding on facts of a case that could exist. So like, why shouldn't they be able to do this? Well, the answer is very simple. Nobody else is allowed to do this. Nobody else in any other case is allowed to make up a set of facts to fit a scenario that they've concocted in their own mind and then have it get through the courts and they end up siding with the person. No, you need to have standing in order to get your foot in the door at the courtroom. There needs to be facts of a case that are real, that merit, a legal decision. So it doesn't pass the sniff test. It doesn't pass the most basic, minimum, lowest bar of all time. This is astonishing. So basically, the Supreme Court, they have such a hate boner, no pun intended, for gay couples that they're like, we're not going to do any fact checking. We don't even care if it's real or not because it's not real. And we're going to go ahead and, side with the Colorado web designer who made absolutely everything up. Look, what's the main takeaway here, guys? Understand this. This is the most important point. Anybody who says, the Supreme Court is not political, the Supreme Court just calls balls and strikes, nothing could be further from the truth. They are a deeply, deeply political body. The various justices have, rigid ideologies, and they vary from justice to justice. This court certainly leans right, but they have, an ideological stance, and they are simply legislating from the bench. This is not like they're above politics, they're beyond politics, they're just calling balls and strikes. They're just doing the plain face reading of the laws or the Constitution. That's not the case at all. And this is such a great example of it right here. It just so happens most of the justices on the court, the conservative justices, are anti-gay, and they don't want anti-discrimination protections to protect gay people. So there was a mucked up case here with fake facts, something that didn't happen at all, and they heard the case and they sided with the anti-gay web designer. Look, I don't know what sort of legal avenues are available now that this is already done, but understand something. This is a colossal scandal because nobody, and I mean nobody else, can get to this point based on fake facts, a totally made up scenario. And if this came out about anybody else in any other instance, they would have to reverse the decision because the case is null and void because it's not even a real thing that happened. So now my guess is, of course, this is not going to happen. And my other guess is the Supreme Court's not even going to release a statement on this. So I'm going to say, oh, oops, our bad. I guess this is the reality. They're not even going to do that. Because they're judicial supremacists and they're judicial tyrants, and they look down on you from their ivory tower as they deeply, deeply impact everybody's life in a way that probably goes above and beyond even Congress and even the president. It is astonishing, man. This is astonishing. But complete and utter made-up facts. They shouldn't have even had standing. It should have been thrown out on day one before it even got to the Supreme Court. And here we are. Got all the way through the court system. Got all the way to the Supreme Court. And they sided with somebody who made stuff up to push an anti-gay agenda to get rid of anti-discrimination protections for gay people. This is as low as it gets. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.